Hey, everybody. Welcome to the People, Purpose, and Profits Business Coaching Podcast. I am Brian Buck, and you are?
And I'm Kat.
And we are excited today to talk about connection. And I'll be really curious to kind of hear, Kat's perspective. But through my coaching business, it began very early on when I went to a Pearl Jam concert. And I've shared a little bit about that, but I really had like a spiritual transformation in that concert that changed my life. And it led me to always wanting to live a life of freedom, passion, and connection. Because in that rock concert, that's what you felt. And so today I'm really excited to talk about what connection means to me and what it would mean for each of our businesses as a business owner, small to medium-sized business, coaches, or consultants. So you want to start us off with your thoughts or passion behind connection?
To me, connection is really important, especially, as a coach, and it can go, in different directions. And first of all, being connected to the purpose of why I'm doing this, but also being connected to people. And one of the biggest things for me was creating that connection with people to help them feel that they're not just another sale, that actually they're being cared for, that everything that I'm doing is genuine. And ultimately, even though I may put people on the spot and tell them how it is about getting them to be connected to their truth, which sometimes, we can get in our heads and, make up a lot of stories for why we can't and, make up excuses. So I think connecting to the truth and the deepest part of us, the one that gets fulfilled by nothing else but connection, is at the core of very successful businesses, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, well, absolutely. One is our brains are wired for connection, and isolation is the opposite of connection. And I mean, especially with everything that we've gone through during this time of COVID, we are less connected than ever. I mean, thankfully, we've got Zooms and other ways of connecting, but it's still different than the energy of being together with someone in a room. But, and that ties into the business piece. People buy based off of relationships now. They aren't buying because it's a great, I love the features and benefits, but there's so much competition out there that the features and benefits can be easily replicated. Okay. But what can't be replicated is that connection. There's a out here in the Northwest, I don't know if they are nationwide, but there's a tire store. And every time you go there, even if you didn't buy a tire from them, they'll check your tire, they'll give you recommendations. And because they care for you outside of that, when it comes time for tires, I go there always because of that relationship. And it's so important.
It is. And, I think one of the things, and I might have mentioned it before, one of the things that I feel, at least I'm doing, and I've seen very few people do this, is to continue to check back on people, because I genuinely value that connection with people. And, like I said, the reason why I don't like, people to think they're just a sale is because I'm interested in seeing them do well. Whether, they've been a client of mine or not, especially if we've gotten a chance to talk and, we've made a meaningful conversation, that it is just, a part of me that just loves to connect, to check back up and see how things are going. And, I think, again, talking back to like what you said with the store is, that difference is what people remember.
Hmm.
That, there could be maybe other places in town that are giving even better service, or they're more fancy or more advanced, or they have something extra.
Hmm.
But because you build that connection with people and they trust you and they see you as being really interested in their best selves, especially as a coach, then they do return and they do want to continue that relationship.
Right. And it's also good business sense. I mean, you always want to do it genuinely, but in the world of innovation and quality improvement that I come from, the better you have a relationship with your customers or potential customers, the better you can meet their needs. And one of the things that I learned, it was a marketing person, but I thought it was really brilliant. And he was saying, if you want to know where to innovate, look where people compensate. And what that means is, say, I've got a water bottle for those who are listening, but let's say to get the lid off, I always have to use two fingers to get the lid off. By really having a relationship with my customers and knowing what they do, I could see where that is and I can make a better lid. And they're going to be like, oh my goodness, thank you for doing that. Because,
Finally, someone is listening, right?
right. But people aren't going to share those things if you don't have,
Unless,
unless you have a connection and a
yeah.
relationship, because you can't just, I see these things all the time in social media and marketing. Hey, tell me what your biggest pain points are. And I always want to say these kind of messages for people I don't know, because it's being a little bit of a smart aleck, but it's very different than if I've worked with them before and you're like, hey Brian, you bought this a month ago, how's that going? Where is it not working? Like you and I just did this great challenge. We just did, we did the Mighty Challenge, and we built in at the end, hey, how's this working? Where can we change and improve? People then were able to say, hey, you might think about this, you might think about that. So the next time we do this, people are going to get even more massive results than what they were able to do. But if we would have said before the challenge, hey, tell us what you want in a challenge, I'd be like, I don't know. Like we didn't have that connection. And so that connection is so important in your business to not only make better products and better services, but you're able to see other needs. You want to increase your sales? There's a third word in our podcast is profits. By knowing what else they need is going to help you meet that need, which makes more money for
Absolutely. And how do you feel that, I think I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, how do you feel the other connection with yourself?
you.
Because you can't leave that out. How do you feel that plays into the business?
Oh man. Um, Really huge. I haven't really thought about it. That's why I love doing a show with you. Uh, we don't,
Challenging.
yeah. Well, no, it's like we never practice these things going forward. We're
Right.
like, here's our topic. Let's go live, and and you bring up interesting stuff. It's so critical. I was working with a business owner, and they pretty much had everything really locked into how they wanted the business to run, what did they need, where they wanted to grow, where are they expecting the revenue, their marketing. But I had to ask, what do you want out of this? And they couldn't say. And we worked through it a little bit, and they were starting to have some insight that what they wanted wasn't necessarily how the business was set up for them. And so that then became, well, now what do we do? But I think as a business owner or coach, we need to be clear about where we want to go and head, so that way we're building businesses that support the lifestyles or the things in our life that we want to design. Because if not, you could be design. You think about, so many, going back to one of my connection and freedom and connection and passion. People want freedom. I know a few entrepreneurs that they set up their business so that way they can travel and just do all their work online and be able to do that if they want. But if you set up a business that requires you to be in person in a specific town or city, you might have a great business, you might be making money, but it's not tied to what you want. And so it really has to start with connection to you and what do you want and where do you want to go. And this is another side. It's very common when you ask people, what exactly do you want? Not many people can actually answer that.
Right. And is in challenging the values also that you have is connecting with yourself to find that out, because I've seen people become really sick because they were connected more to making money and to other people's dreams rather than their own agenda, following their passion. And I've seen people in real estate make great money but led a really bad lifestyle. Even though they had the money, they didn't have the health, they
Mm,
didn't have the family, they didn't have the thing that really matter to them.
yeah.
And it's about connecting to yourself to find out what you value the most, because you can't have the money if you're not feeling fulfilled. And if you don't understand what fulfills you, then you've got bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're also making me think about just because you're really good at something doesn't mean you enjoy doing them. So I used to use this all. I've done a lot
Definitely.
of crazy stuff in Excel, and I'm like really good at Excel and data analysis. But for me now, if I get into Excel, it bores the crap out of me. Like I've gotten to a certain level of mastery and expertise that going any further or spending more time in it, it's lost its edge and its passion for me. I'll do it if I need to, but if I built a whole business around that expertise and I'm spending time in something that I don't enjoy, I'm not going to be fulfilled. And it really
Right.
comes down to what are the things that you love doing, and is your business set up side around that. And there's so many people who, and I have a good friend of mine who recently launched her business about a year ago, and she had this great post about so many people think you're going to make less money when you pursue what you're passionate about, and she says, not for me, it's
Mm.
tripled. And I just think we kind of have this fear sometimes of,
Why do you think that is?
yeah, I think it's the fear of, hey, I know I'm good at this and this is a marketplace thing, so I'm going to do that because, we're thinking about the money versus the fulfillment of doing things and trusting. If you're doing what you love and people are feeling that and it's creating value, it's going to catch like fire.
Right.
It's going to attract more people. It's going to people feel more connected, and you're going to be whole. You're going to be connected with your actions to your mind and your passions, and that's
Body.
huge.
Right. And then when you don't love what you do, you're constantly in a battle.
Yep.
You're resisting it. There's a lot of conflict, and there's a lot of energy that you put into saying, well, I don't want to do this. I hate this. And, there's so much emotion that eats away at you. But when you're loving what you're doing, there's constantly this spirit of creativity and
Yeah.
exploration. So it's always on the like upward spiral, and then like an expansion
Yeah.
is what I call it.
Yeah. I love that. But I also want to bring back to also the importance of people. So one of the key things, I came from the world of the Toyota production system, and they have two main pillars. And one is the continuous improvement, which is the science of improvement. And you're going to see a lot of your industrial engineering kind of tools and data driven and the science. I call that the head of improvement. But then they also have a pillar that's the respect for people, and I call that the heart of improvement. And a lot of organizations fail in full transformation because they aren't truly respecting people. And there's 5 principles behind actually what Toyota means by it. It isn't just respect, but there's tons of stuff like personal responsibility, mutual understanding, and teamwork. And I think it's so important to help our audience to know how important it is to truly respect the people that you work with. There's your partners that you might hire as contract work for, like your marketing, or maybe you've got a virtual assistant. You might work with someone in like your funnels, and your clients and the people who, if you're also part of a group or a mastermind group, there's that connection, because it all comes back and it all adds to you. But you got to really focus on making that true people connection and not a task. Because if you just look
Right.
at people as transactional, you're never going to get transformation. You see people as people and connection, trust happens, which then frees up even better ideas and more exponential growth for your business or just in your heart.
Right, and I think I saw a picture a couple of days ago that really represents exactly what you're talking about. It was that the old model, the manager would be on top, and then the workers would be like, at the bottom, having to listen to one idea.
Mm-hmm.
Then the new model is that the manager is in the middle, and then the invitation for everybody around to bring forward ideas, because you never know the geniuses, as you said,
Right,
that are around you that can bring so many different perspectives and ideas and ways to handle things that you can't really think about.
right.
So
Well, and the people who are the best experts at your customers are the ones who's talking to the customers every day.
yeah.
As a business owner or coach, depending on what your goals are, but many probably want to get into decision maker mode and not necessarily in daily operations if you're wanting a little more freedom in your life or you're having passive income. Um, so that means you really have to trust those people at the front lines to be able to tell you, hey, here's where our clients are struggling. Here's where they're needing. Here's where we're really rocking and rolling. Let's do more of that, and that will greatly help.
I forgot what the show was called, and this conversation reminded me of it, where there's Undercover Boss.
Oh
And
yeah,
I really love that because it shows that the reason sometimes that businesses don't grow is because, people aren't well aware of all the levels, that are connected to, ultimately the bottom line. And in those levels, there's usually the people that are in the company that work. And if we don't set the right, I don't want to say rules, but the right system,
culture, the right culture.
right, to follow, then the energy that they bring into the business will could lead to like the whole establishment falling apart.
Yep. Yeah.
Because you're just one person, everybody else is what keeps it going. It's just so important to connect and to find out what people's struggles are, what they face, how to improve. And you wouldn't know how to improve your own business if you didn't really go there and be hands-on and be involved and ask questions and really, genuinely care about the people that work for you.
Yeah. And I coach this all the time of businesses, is you aren't achieving your strategy because of problems that are happening today that you haven't found out about. And that's exactly what Undercover Boss is finding out, like what's really happening in your workplace that's holding people back. And it's a Tony Robbins quote that I think works across all levels of your business. But he said, 20% strategy, 80% psychology. And I don't know who said this, but I share this all the time, is if quitting smoking was as easy as handing people a pamphlet, everyone would quit smoking. But it's not the strategy that's keeping them. And so it's all the psychology of what's happening in your work
Yeah.
every day that is getting in the way. And until you understand that and align that, just a little aside, it's amazing to me how often leaders don't even set vision or expectation for how they serve. Because I remember one situation when I was a manager, uh, we were understaffed one day, and one of the people on the line was mad at me said, why didn't you jump on the line and help? So one method could be, well, all of our leaders should be experts at the work and be able to fill in as needed. Where the work I was doing was making sure we can get enough people in to be able to offset. Like my role wasn't to support them, wasn't to jump on the line. But because we had that disconnect, we didn't have the trust, we didn't have the alignment to be able to go where we need to go. And it came down to role clarity. And I just think about that in your team. Like I have an entrepreneur friend who, he's got like 4 different contract workers who are also working with other people. And he said how much he has to work on developing those relationships and those clear expectations and conversations so that way he can get what he needs done when their time is being competed, because we're in a gig economy. Not every one of us actually have employees yet. So that's a whole nother level of how are we connecting with people to truly know how well do they know our vision, our strategy? How well do we have systems that their connection with the customer is getting back to me? So that way what I'm creating is going to be meeting their needs as well. So connection's pretty important.
It is. And, it's so funny that you brought up the whole smoking thing, because I know when I tried to quit, I, smoked for quite some time and, over a decade and a half, I think, if, I put it all together. And the first time I actually quit was right when I got pregnant with my son. So, my connection was to the health of my baby.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, like, it wasn't even like I didn't even question whether or not I was going to quit. It just happened automatically. And then when I started back up and I wanted to quit again, like you said, it's not so much about the strategies, because we know it's actually as simple as, not buying cigarettes anymore.
Right.
Or not constantly saying tomorrow.
Or reading the warning and going, oh, okay, put them down.
Right. But to me, the connection, like I made the connection actually between me and quitting smoking, of how important that was when my son said, I don't want you to die. I want you to be my mom. I want you to, and he was 4 years old at that time.
Yeah.
So, sometimes some external things may help you to make a better connection to a deeper truth, to a deeper, better version of yourself, to help you bridge the gap between what you're trying to accomplish and then the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Which once again is why we're wired for community and connection. If we don't have a community, we're out by ourselves, and most people, our brains aren't always the nicest to us. Right? And so having other people kind of helps us offset that a little bit, or you see someone overcoming great things, and that then gives you the encouragement to do it yourself.
Right.
Like if we don't see other people crushing it, we don't think it's possible for us.
Yeah. And then, asking, like, instead of saying, what is it all for? Asking, who is it all for? Because that can, create a dramatic shift.
For sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was a great topic. We would love to connect with our audience. So please watch us on YouTube at the People, Purpose, and Profits Business Coaching YouTube show, or you can listen to the audio version on your podcatcher of choice. We have a Facebook page, so you can subscribe to that. Or if you want to interact with fellow listeners and Kat and I, we have a Facebook group, and we would love to hear from you, connect with you, so that way we can make sure these topics are going to help greatly impact your business. Thank you.
Agreed. I would really love to hear your feedback and hear any questions that you may have, because we know that, after all, our deeper connection will be with you. When we know how to serve you the best, then we'll make it the best.
All right. See you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.